So assuming then that so let's first take out of our minds think politics and just think about more people-oriented policy issues, women's issues, issues with education, issues with interacting with the world around us, etc. I want to know a qualified Torah leader, as I think we're arriving at. Is there an ideal of representing a constituency, of representing the perspective of the people, as opposed to or together with representing the perspective of the Torah?
Well, there's a certain integrative factor that you have to be aware of. You can't demand that the people do things that they simply cannot do. You can't ignore the demands and the sensitivities of the people. When it comes at the beginning, when it came to women's issues, I think there were a lot of Rabbanim that felt that the women were complainers, underminers, not really interested in religious development, and that they would and that they should be put down. Their initiatives should not be accepted. I think that today, 2010, this is not the case. I think that there is more and more respect for the issues that women bring up. There are halachic issues, some of which are solvable, some of which seem to be more difficult. But all in all, I think there was a change in our attitude, the attitude of the Rabbanim to the women and their needs. Whereas once there was, a sort of an idea that women were happy, as they were, doing what they did and not doing what they didn't do. I think today it's more acceptable to say, well, there's some women who are not happy. And if I don't know if happy is the ultimate criterion, but what I mean to say is that I don't think that women are accused of being insincere. A woman wants to do like a woman. Let me give you an example. So there were places in Hungary where on Sukkot, the women didn't sit in the sukkah. Because to them, the idea that men and women shouldn't sit together at the same table was more important than doing the mitzvah of Yeshiva b'sukkah. And since women are not obliged, so they didn't sit in the sukkah. They sat in the kitchen. Men sat in the sukkah. The women sat in the kitchen. I think today, if you went into an Orthodox home and you saw that the women were sitting in the sukkah, I don't think anybody would argue that this is the revolution taking place. That they want to undermine tradition. So things depend a little bit on mazel, like how they're presented and when they're presented, and a little bit on getting used to it. I mean, today, I think we're used to the idea that women sit in the sukkah. I mean, it's not a question.
All right. First of all, I do want to go a little bit more into women's issues in one moment, but taking a step back from that, what I want to know is it relevant for a person to say when they hear something said over the name of Rav Yasha, but it sounds like a policy matter, even if it's couched in halachic terms. Is it relevant for a person to say he's I recognize him as a Gadol in Torah, but he's representing a community that's not, and the viewpoint of a community, and catering to a constituency that I'm not a part of. Is that something valid for a person to put forth? And for that reason, I'm not going to look as much to him on or his statements on policy issues are going to carry as much weight.
It's what every Belzer Chassid says about Rabbi Yashiv. What you just said. It's not part of my community. I don't. I listen to what I listen to. I mean, everybody says that.
So it's valid to expect that the statements that are made and not the statements, the decisions that are made are representative of are representative statements. They aren't necessarily 100% the representation of the Torah perspective as much as an interaction between that perspective and the perspective of the people themselves.
Well, you could say that they are representative of the Torah perspective, but the Torah perspective itself is nuanced.
Really?
And it can be expressed by Rabbi Yashiv, it can be expressed by the Belzer Rebbe, it can be expressed by Rabbi Soloveitchik, it can be expressed by different people, and the nuances are all legitimate Torah positions, but they're different for different communities.
I'll accept that as long as we realize that there are cases where you come into direct conflict, where you can't say that it's a matter of emphasis or nuance. But I understand.
I don't think there's so many cases of that kind.
It's not so many.
I think that mostly most people can see Rabbi Yashiv as being a halachic authority. Whether they'll accept him or not accept him because of their community affiliation, I don't think that they'll say, well, I don't accept him because he's not a reasonable person to accept. I understand someone else will accept him, and I accept this rabbi. But it's not because I think that Rabbi Yashiv doesn't deserve to be attended to or to be listened to.
Okay.
Similarly, the Belzer Rebbe. I mean, I'm not playing favorites here. Right?